I think a lot of people think about the way they prompt as if they're coding. That doesn't mean that doesn't work, but I do think that if you narrow down how you prompt in that way, it doesn't really take full advantage of what prompting can really unlock. There's a way of working that was not possible before that now is. And generally speaking, that's where I have the most fun. What is normally called a bad prompt can also be the best prompt. If you're like me, where you're output oriented, I don't really care what my prompt is, so long as it gets me the result. That also means that my preferred way of working is the least amount of information I can give to get the output that I want. That's my preferred workflow. I don't like creating text-heavy documentation, specifications, if I can avoid it. My most embarrassing prompts, which to the outside viewer can look very dumb, big request, hey, I want this UI button, and when X happens in the game, I want the button to animate a particular kind of way. And I'm vague intentionally because I want to pull from the whole training data set. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. And that's the whole point. When it does, it saves me time. I don't have to spend more time creating more detailed information for the model to go off of. I always give the least amount of information and only provide more when it's necessary. When the model is performing a task that I've requested, and I signal my displeasure by saying, this looks terrible. That sounds like a really bad prompt, but I don't think so. Fable is able to understand intent. So me telling it this looks terrible immediately converges on a different set of possible solutions. Whatever the solution is, it's not what it showed me. And oftentimes, I find that that signal is enough for Fable to either ask me the right follow-up question or just fix it without more input from me. Showing displeasure in the prompt itself is valuable information. I see so many posts online, forums, onto the internet when they're judging someone's prompt, and there's so much hyper optimization on exactly what piece of information to put in that it just looks like programming. And the thing is, that is not the only way to work. It's really hard to describe concepts that you naturally train in the arts that we don't really talk about. None of these concepts are new when you're learning art and you're training in art. It's not about accuracy, but I don't have other words to really describe it. The general way I like to frame it to myself is I don't want to limit the model's creativity. I want to allow it to sample from all of the knowledge that it has. And the moment I like a general direction, then I'll get more specific. And this is not because I don't have the knowledge in the areas in which I'm prompting. I'm an expert 3D modeler and an animator. I can work professionally in those domains. I've been doing it for a very long time. If you were to see me prompt, or at least my initial prompts in those domains, it would sound like I'm an absolute amateur. There's something about being too granular, too specific, too detailed. In the areas that I have expertise in, if I start off the chat that way, the output, the performance drops significantly. I run into this issue all the time, looking at other art managers, people who are leading art teams. You can have a lot of different personalities. My preference has always been be fairly hands-off, see what they can do, and step in only when it feels like it's necessary. However, that does not mean that's how every artist likes to manage other artists. I've seen artists that on the outside, they're not managing me, but I can see them managing others. It's exhausting because they come in with all the homework already done, full specifications, documentation, all that other stuff, and it really limits the creativity of the team members. All of the surprises that could potentially happen if you give a little bit of room. With my prompting, I have been getting a lot of success having a similar philosophy, starting broad and narrowing down on things that I like. This is a very common concept in the arts. If you're drawing, you start with gestural drawings, and as you form the shapes, you strengthen your line weight, seeing shapes in clouds. I'm not interested in prompting like how someone would code. And it's very important for me to emphasize, this is when prompting for creative domains, because this is literally how artists work before AI. That doesn't mean this way is the way to work or that way. It's just that there are ways to prompt. As these models get better and better, I don't really think prompting will really matter much. It'll just understand intent. And anytime I hear someone say, oh, you need to create a whole documentation, specification sheet, my brain just like, what are you doing? Yes, you can do that. And your output will be fine if you're like a professional in that domain. But even then, it's not going to be the best output you're going to get from these models. And maybe that is a requirement for your game. Maybe your art direction says that this is the narrow band of quality that I'm looking for my game, no more and no less. And in that case, yeah, go ahead and specify in much detail all of your art creative requirements. I don't like to work that way. I like to be pleasantly surprised. The same way if I'm working with colleagues, I don't do this to people, and I don't feel like doing this to AI. One of the main downsides of this way of working is that just because the vague prompt worked once, doesn't mean it's going to work again. For me, that's fine. And that might be a workaround that I need to figure out later. But the realities are, I am building a library. Even though the prompt that built that thing isn't something that's reproducible. Like you can't use that prompt to rebuild it. And that might be a problem for certain projects, but it's not for mine. And if I want that exact result, instead of relying on the prompt, I'll just direct it to the output, my future AI agent. Hey, go read this commit. I made this feature. Copy paste it over. Sample the actual output, not the prompt. I'm not saying this is the right way to work. I'm just saying this is a way to work and it's valid.
So I stopped using MD files for creating prompts to use for Claude. It's way easier for me to understand and build features that are visual using this Wikipedia approach. And for whatever reason, Claude Code is an absolute beast in building out these pages. This is what I used with Claude Code. I didn't tell it, hey, do it this way. I basically asked it, give me some suggestions. It gave me like 3 or 4, and I chose the one that I liked. And then I art directed it. Claude also gave me a collapse speed to art direct. These are tools that it automatically gave me because it was concerned that the motion didn't match exactly what I wanted. So here's it slowed down. Boom, 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 boom. And you see the little jiggliness? I didn't give it a fancy like academic prompt about what animation follow through is. I just told it, hey, make it jiggly. Now here's the thing. There might be some installs on YouTube telling me how unprofessional that sounds, but the realities are I don't really care about how professional I sound when I'm prompting. I care about the output. A lot of my animation polish is just asking for juice and jiggliness. And usually that gets me almost all the way to the visual quality that I want. And then I added it into the game. I'll edit a clip here to show you what that looks like. think one of the challenges that I have is vibe coding has turned into an insult, but I'm finding that there are many domains in game development where I personally feel like vibe coding is the more creative, appropriate workflow for visual features. I wanted to show you an example of how I would go on about vibe coding a new feature. First off, let's play the game real quick. So one thing that I want to enhance is my potions in the top left corner over here. The water potion. It adds in extra 2 mana, but you'll notice that when I use it, this is the potion area. This should go from 4 out of 4 to 6 out of 6. The problem I have right now is there isn't a lot of visual feedback to the player that this is happening. Outside of the numbers changing, I want to ask Claude to create me some visual variations to choose from to enhance the visuals of this feature. So I'm going to drink one right now just so that you can see what happens. Pay close attention to here. I'm going to turn on the volume. Now I'm going to turn the volume off. So for me, that didn't look super juicy. And that's the feature that I'm going to ask Claude to help me to enhance. Hey Fable, I need help with enhancing the visual juice of the water potion in my game. Right now, when I drink it, it does increase the number value of the mana element in my UI, but it's very easy to miss. One thing that I wanted you to help me with is creating 3 variations of potential visual options that I can choose from. And the way I want you to present this to me is through the wiki page system that we have locally in my project. Allow me in this wiki page to drink a potion and then see its corresponding effect on the mana area. Make sure once you're done that you open up the wiki page for me. All right, so it looks like it finished up. It's giving me 3 potions to choose from. It's giving me speed. This is great. So let me go ahead and click on it. Okay, that was interesting. So it does like a really cool pulse. And then it gives me +2. This looks really nice. So that is option A. Let's see option B. That's interesting. I really like this one. Yeah, I definitely like this one more. It feels more juicy. Yep. This one is a clear winner. Let's slow it down just to see the speed functionality. Let me go ahead and drink. Boom. It spawns the amount that you're... Well, I guess my problem right now is... So the feedback that I would give to Claude is the amount of potions it spawns should correspond to the amount you're going to recover. Right now, I don't like how it's spawning 4, but only giving 2. So that's my only feedback. If I go with this option, I'm going to ask Claude to actually make that modification. This is why the speed parameter is super useful. Okay, so how about C? Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, I really don't like that. Terrible. Yeah, terrible. Okay, so we're going to go with option B. And let me just look at it one more time before I give the feedback. Okay, I'm ready. Hey Claude, so I'm going to go with option B. However, my issue with it right now is I want the amount of potion projectiles you spawn to reflect the amount of mana is going to be gained once those potions land and get consumed. Right now, you're spawning 4, but when they land, I get +2. Instead, I want this to be not hard-coded, but I want it to dynamically update the amount of potion projectiles that spawn that corresponds to the value you're going to get when they land. Can you go ahead and make this change? And we don't need option A or C. We're going to make this wiki page fully dedicated to option B. One other note I forgot to mention, when you're done updating this wiki page, please refresh it and open it for me so that I know you are finished. All right, so let's take a look at the final result. First at normal speed. Looks good. Reset. Let's slow it down one more time. Yep, looks great. Hey Claude, so I like what we have. Before we actually proceed with implementing this, I want you to commit this for me. So it looks like it's ready for me to test this out in game. And then I'm going to press continue. Go back into combat. Okay, I'm going to turn on the volume. Yep. Looks good. You can go ahead and commit this. Do not use the commit skill. Just go ahead and give me a description and title, and let me know when you're done. Before this video, I ran a playtest with the old version of the game. By my metrics, it did extremely poorly. I made every mistake a amateur game designer makes. I mixed genres. It ended up being 4 different genres mashed together. This is the stuff that I understand intuitively, but I made the mistakes anyway. My game doesn't broadcast, hey, I'm an amateur, like I don't know how to game design. I'm learning as I go. I'm not a good game designer. Hopefully in a few years I will be, but not right now. The old version of the game is gone. This is using as much of the features and tools that I created for the old version, but the actual gameplay experience is totally different. Game design is not something that AI can help me with at all. Like, there's zero help. It can help me code, it can help me with art and all that other stuff. It can't help me with game design. And it's the natural bottleneck for my game right now. And I am doing my best to resolve it. And if you do play the playtest, I apologize in advance. If the game sucks, if it's frustrating, let me know and I'll do my best to resolve it.